I'm going to do a question and answer for you guys. Came from an email from a patient, and it's the first one that I've done like this. I think there's about 20 questions. I'll count them out and you know, put the exact number. So here goes. This is all on Pulse Technologies, or mostly. So there's 2 sequence libraries preloaded, and that's in the Pulse Technology software. The CAFL, CAFL, and the higher converted CAFL. That's true. There are a couple more libraries that I have. One being the private. If you go into a doctor's office and that person has Pulse Technologies, and they can give you the private library. That's the one that I mostly pull from. Otherwise, I go to the CAFL high frequency list for microorganisms, and I do some of the lower frequencies on the CAFL with muscle or like solfeggio. Those frequencies I like to run as they were, real low, and you run them for a longer period of time. That's about it. Okay, 150 known Lyme toxins from killing bacteria. Can you list which frequency to use with the Lyme toxins? Well, when I test a person, there's general detox frequencies for kidneys, and some of them, for detoxification of lymph glands, and maybe some assessments for supplements like chlorella or activated charcoal, or Metagenics makes a lot of real good ones too. Third question: how long maximum should you treat daily in one person? 120 seconds each. Session numbers of X. Unknown variable. Sometimes I'll run a frequency 30 minutes or until I stop feeling these, and with the higher numbers, 30 kilohertz and 30,000 plus. Then that's like 2 to 3 minutes of frequency generally. Sometimes I preset it at 4 and found that was a little too high because I wouldn't feel anything for 4 minutes, and then just settle back to 3 or 2 minutes. Is power level 10 too strong to start out with for young people? Pulse Tech Manual says start with 5 and work up. Yeah, I think it's good for people to start low. I generally run things on high until I know that person is sensitive, but I usually keep the session length shorter for the first couple sessions, and just to see how the person responds. There's been a couple people that I run low, 4 or 5, sometimes as low as 2. That's really rare. Output monitor doesn't change for the PFG2Z, or is that just for the P3 Pro? I don't know what that. There's 4 categories on the software, and they're basically limiting things. The LED is limiting it to half power, and I think also 200,000 hertz, but maybe not. It gets a lot dimmer after 200,000 hertz. And then the contact's limited to 300,000 hertz because that's the beginning of the radio frequency list. Or just radio frequency in general, which is not good to run daily, and people did that. I don't know what happened, but it's not too desirable to understand. And the P3 Pro is limited at 150,000 hertz. But if you look at the site, it's only guaranteed to go up to 100,000. I've run mine up to 205,000, but it doesn't seem to like switching frequencies too much at that high rate, and I have to do like a square 70 waveform and mess around with the offset to get it to stick. So I mostly only run the standard list, or maybe up to 130, 140,000, something like that. Best or favorite functions: square or shape of. This is just waveform. Waveform square, especially if We're going to do square waveform with microorganisms. Like solfeggio frequencies, that's sine. I know I was reading something the other day on the Bosnian pyramid of the sun outputting 28,000 hertz, and that was in sine too, and it was these standing non-Hertzian waves too, which is the same that the P3 Pro puts out too. So that if it's less otherwise noted, then run square. You get better harmonics, but you get these micro frequencies between the primary frequencies, and then there's this harmonic effect where it will resonate with higher frequencies. Does a PFG have any pulsed electromagnetic field that would help others nearby, or is this just the P3 Pro plasma unit? No, there's no electromagnetic field with the contact pads. Only if there's electricity, there's going to be some, but the wires are insulated, and it would have to be the plasma unit, and to a much lesser extent, the pulse LED. I was thinking about coils, but if you make an electromagnetic coil, you have to have that touching somebody, basically, or really close. And those waves, they're pretty much destroyed, 4 inches away or 10 inches away, and they dissipate really quickly over distance. Unlike the pulsed plasma standing scalar waves. Okay, Zyto Virtual Clinic setup, biometric scanning. Is that running frequencies through the body and saying what's ringing? Yeah, in a sense, yes. Yeah, they're virtual stressors, so it doesn't have to do with blood work. It's not diagnostic in the doctor term of diagnosis. And should you always do this before the PFG 2Z session? I like to. If I feel that my sessions aren't doing anything, then I always run it. If I have one session where I'm not feeling any different, then I'll run it. That being said, when you get the thing, there's a lot of programs to play around with. Mine's general. The Zyto provides a general guide for all this stuff in my private libraries, which I've gone into depth on other videos. They list all the private categories. They can point you in the right direction for those Zyto, or the Pulse Technology sessions. Should you do it every day? Depends. If you want to, yeah, go for it. Once a week. If you're doing it every day, probably once a week, once every 2 weeks. If you do it every 2 months, that's better than nothing. But the more like 2 times a week for frequency testing, I think things change right after you run a frequency. So that's my opinion. Get tested quite often. Yeah, it does fluctuate. Does the body fluctuate daily on what's acting up, or what needs the most treatment and attention? Yes, it's for the onion analogy. You deal with like the first set of concerns, and then that layer is peeled, and then I've got a second set of concerns, and then when are you at the root? Well, we live on a real nice planet with toxins and stuff, so you definitely get balanced fairly quickly, and the test alone, the Zyto test alone helped balance the Zyto test. You can do like 2 or 3 of them in a row, and it seems to come up better and better each time. That would be like the same session if you did like 2 tests real quick. Herxing. This is a good question. Is it good to herx, meaning you are killing things, or bad because you are misusing equipment? This can occur from 2 ways. Either way, there's you herx because of toxins released, either by all this the old Reich theory that we're going to shatter the glass and crack and break up the microorganism, and that then you need some detoxification support. You know, be it like again charcoal or maybe bentonite clay or chlorella, like fractionalized or pulverized cell wall chlorella is really good. So either way, it's increasing more toxins. So you could be possibly killing something, and that would release toxins, or else you could have just given it energy and caused some sort of growth with it too. But 2 or 3 minutes, then per frequency, you're fine as long as you're over that 30,000 hertz range. Or also, it'd be safer to do 15 or 20 minutes per frequency when you're at the lower frequencies, 400 hertz or so. This one's about the private library. Jordan, do you have a shareable favorite scan for aggressive Lyme sessions? There's Lyme frequencies from CAFL. You can find them online. I've got all of those that are in the that Lyme Disease and Rife Machines book. Plus, there's some proprietary frequencies from other sources, and then I have sweeps. So I've got 5, 10, I think 8 hertz and 25 hertz variables. So 5 plus and minus each of those frequencies. So it's a list of like 400 or so, close to 500 line frequencies that are in the Zyto. So yeah, there's frequencies that I've got that I would associate with that miasm of Lyme that we're dealing with. Step-by-step instructions on how to make a colloidal silver and what are the benefits. How much should you drink a day once made? 1 tablespoon, question mark? Where to buy a silver tester? I don't have one, and that would be total dissolved solids meter. To make sure it's correct consistency. So what I do is there's a colloidal silver start program. You run it on 1,000 and 10,000 hertz, square 95 or square 90 with distilled water. So there's nothing in the water, no potential metals besides silver, of course. And the primary purpose of the silver is to imprint the frequencies into the water. So the silver molecules are breaking off of the rods and they're going into the water, and they're made with that frequency. And I think when they're made with that frequency, the frequency isn't lost. And then you get into, should you put one frequency in, like an old homeopathic, or could you make it with a bunch of frequencies? I think you could make it with 80 frequencies. So its job is mostly the outputting, or like a homeopathic, but a homeopathic that can't go bad. It's like a homeopathic that you could take around electromagnetic sources, because we're around those all the time. Like the cell phone fields are fairly strong. Microwaves are, of course. For instance, there's a lot of solar X-ray activity right now. For like the last 10 or 12 days or something. It's been going on for a while. So keep that stuff out of the sun. But silver should be less affected by that. Also, silver is said some places online and in some research circles to suffocate 600 plus forms of bacteria. There's like a 2 to 3 atom per molecule silver with this stuff, where other clumps of silver, when you do like a silver chloride, like in my video how to make the colloidal silver, I wasn't doing things correctly. I was making silver chloride, but you could see it just smoke right off the probes. So I was making some really concentrated stuff there, and there, 6 drops is quite a bit for your body to handle, and it's these large clumps that can be toxic. But the 2 to 3 atom per molecule silver, I don't think a 2 to 3 atom per molecule silver gets toxic. And another test for it, like I have a laser, or I had a laser. I think this is like part of it. I chopped it up and tried to attach it to the PFG, and didn't work too well. I got a flashlight to attach to it, but you put a laser pointer through the silver, and if you can see the laser beam reflecting off of silver particles or any particles at all in there, it's bigger than 2 to 3 atom per molecule. And it needs to be smaller than the wavelength of light, and that's why you use the laser. That's a test. So as long as it passes that test, I think 5 ounces a day, the size of the silver maker, is going to be fine. Okay, next question. Sorry, that was a long one before. Antibiotic therapy plus blood electrification to fix blood pathogens, or just pulse technology equipment for hard cases. With drugs, that's a discussion with your doctor. Obviously, I think you do both together. I can say that. A lot of people have, and they reported that to me. So, when do you use the sweep function? How? You just right-click, select all, and then right-click again and hit sweep. And I like an 8 hertz sweep. Above 30,000 hertz. So I do, and I include positive and negative variations of all the frequencies, and I have to Control A and select all, Control copy all of those, and then click out of that, and then do add frequencies and hit Control V, and it pastes all of them into there. Then you have it. You do it again when you need to. So like these primary frequencies, if they're not working, then maybe it's close, and that's when you use a sweep frequency. Or if you've run them to death, use the sweep frequency. It's after you run the primary ones anyways. Calculator conversion, pulsetech.ro / high frequency calc, HFCALC. Does a PFG, 2Z, and P3 Pro use the same frequencies or numbers to be converted? Yeah, from the CAFL list. You don't need to convert them from the high frequency list. Sometimes I do, and you might play around with that. But remember, under 300,000 hertz, that's what you're limited to. So don't put anything over 150,000 as a lower base number, and that way you get all the doubles, and everything's doubling. So nothing will be above the 300,000 hertz. You build medical contacts to hold to the body with wristbands, or versus buying lots of expensive pads. I don't think the pads are that expensive. People get up to 18 uses out of them. Austin Medical, they're like $1 a pad or a little bit more. I use like the 1.5-inch ones. Sometimes the 2-inch ones. I like the 1.5-inch though. They're not recommended because of biological load, and you could make them. I guess you could build them for the wrists. But you don't transfer as much electricity with any metal into the body as you would with the gel pads. And with gel pads, the gel breaks down. Again, I just cleaned up, and I don't have pads sitting around all over the place. But gel breaks down when the electricity goes through it. But if you have copper, the copper's breaking down, and that's going somewhere. It's going into your body. I messed around with copper handles, and my hands were blue the next day. Not good. If you do it, use 3/16 stainless steel. No one can stop you, sort of thing. But that doesn't break down. It's just, I don't know if you're gonna get enough electricity through. I don't know if it's gonna change the waveform. It will more than the contact pads, that's for sure. Okay, next one. You feel a faint jolt from the PFG2Z. Is that normal when starting the unit and moving the red and black wires together? Starting moving. Huh. No. Are they? Is one a negative charge? One's a positive charge? No, they're alternating, and you should be able to feel that. Uh, just turn it on 1 hertz and you'll feel a jolt in the left hand, jolt in the right hand. Okay, and I think this is beyond the pulse technology questions here. Magnetic mattress sleeping pads amplify the sessions, would they? Or would they just improve circulation when you sleep? Do I recommend a Magnetico double polarity? Oh yeah, that's one of my old videos. That thing, I'd say sucks. It might be good for a couple days, but you'd have to rotate it. Like you'd have to have it under the guest bed and sleep there like 1 or 2 nights. Because it was causing back pain. And that's a single polarity. That's only North Pole magnetized, negative towards you. So if you point a compass at it, the needle flips down right at the mattress, and then the north flips down at the mattress. Then you have a better one. Sleep grounded is a grounding system, and that's not magnetic. I like that a lot. I still use that. Can't use it while you do contact application because it tries to ground the frequency out through whatever's touching that blanket. It's very uncomfortable. But the Magnetico ones, I don't use them at all. I think they're in the basement or something. Ionization, ozone, generators healthy or no? Then this foot bath, so this is 2-part. The ozone generators for the air, they make sick people feel real bad. I kind of like them. But I don't have them running all the time. Ozone's a big free radical. And I think I'm hearing more stuff about oxygen-deprived environments. That's the hypobaric as opposed to hyperbaric. Less oxygen environments, and it helps you absorb more oxygen when you're outside of it. Yeah, ozone, big free radical. And sick people get basically trashed with headaches, and they start having reactions. I've noticed it with people who worked across the hallway from me at the med spa. Foot bath, do I recommend a detox? You can go on their company page. If they say green is gallbladder, don't buy that one. That's junk. G-Tech, and don't search ads. Go to asira.com, and it's their body cleanse device. They've got studies on it. Everyone says, I think it's tannic acid that's actually pulled out of there. You're going to improve blood viscosity. I'm just saying because it doesn't detox a lot of heavy metals like everyone thinks it does. It doesn't detox things a lot like everyone thinks it does. Like doing when I did OnMed, or if you like your rife therapy with the PFG, then you should be able to get a lot more out right afterwards. And they've helped headaches, muscle aches, and that. Okay, are there any deals on used P3 Pro units or demo units? No, not that I'm aware of. And one of the reasons you don't see them apparently, I looked for a long time. I was intrigued about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, as my introduction to pulse technology. The first time I saw one was in Ohio, and I asked them if I could buy it a couple years afterwards. They said no, and then there's just none on the market ever, but they sell them, but there's no used one. So something's going on there where there's like a buyback deal. That's what I'm kind of thinking. So I've never seen one on sale. I've never seen an older generation unit. Like I've got a P3 Pro that was just put out in like November of 2000 or October, November of 2011. And from my knowledge, I think it's the 4th one they made, but it's probably a later generation than even that. So I don't think that they want old equipment out there. So any old devices are very scarce. But there is, build your own if you want a real big deal, but like a build your own. I don't know, like almost kit units, but you'd have to get the kit stuff, and you're probably going to be relegated to 10 or 20,000 hertz, but it's plasma. I've got a PDF on that somewhere. Hyperbaric oxygen, any success or testimonials? Yeah, I think they have to be the people that I know. 3 people that say that they were healed from them, and I'm not one of them. But they were high atmospheric pressure units, so it was 2 to 3 atmospheres, or maybe 2.5 atmospheres. I think 3 was extremely high. Maybe one of them was only as low as 1.5, but I think that's the low end of healing people. So if they're rated in PSI, consumer beware, do the conversions. There's Google calculators for all that stuff. And like the poor man's way of doing it is like deep sea diving. I don't even think you need to go deep sea. Even like probably 20 or 30 feet underwater, you're under there, and there's oxygen under there, and there's more pressure under there, so it's going to force it into your tissues a bit. But I don't think there's any disease cures, because you're going to drive something deeper, because it's not going to go all the way through the body, etc. What is cell membrane restructuring and how does it work? I think it's supplements. When I hear this, I think about fatty acid balancing. There's cell membrane restructuring, but I said healthy cells have a different shape. There's some lasers out that were using like a 634 nanometer, 635 nanometer laser. They said a healthy cell, red blood cell, is this shape, or it's that wavelength of light that's put out from it. So they were using lasers to correct the cell shape. When you're using plasma, that's all wavelengths of light, from high ultraviolet to low infrared. So you're getting the red spectrum, the blues, greens, etc. But I think the solfeggio frequencies are supposed to tune you back into balance. 40,000 hertz to 10,000 hertz, and 40 and 10,000 is they do the same things, and so would 80 and 160,000. High frequencies, I already answered that. Anything up to 300,000 hertz is okay, but the body prefers, what I heard, under 80,000 or so. The next question is about infrared saunas. They reach through the cell and heat the body from the inside out. No, they don't. That's microwaves. They heat a larger volume of tissue, so they're not heating primarily the surface, but primarily the air, and making the air 160 degrees, giving problems to people with pulmonary issues, and issues with cardiac issues. So it's not making your heart beat too much faster if you're at 115 degrees. So you're heating a larger volume of tissue. I think some people say an inch, which is a lot. Some people say 4 inches, but 1 inch of volume is still a lot more of the body. That's like my whole forearm. If you do an inch from that side, inch from that side, and everyone who's ever bought a sauna has been happy with it. I like HealthMate. That's why I did a video on HealthMate. What's the other one? There's Therasana. Yeah, something happened with Therasana, and they might have gotten better, but one of the Therasanas that I've used gave me a heat blister. That was a lot of fun. Never gotten a heat blister in any other ones. There's not the vacuum sealing on any other brand that I've seen, where opening a HealthMate is just like opening a refrigerator. It's almost a pot, because the things are built so well. Because it creates a vacuum of air, more or less, inside of there. Supplements you need to take? You need to take a lot of supplements, and this is just around the sauna. This isn't to be confused with your daily dose of anything. So you take, I think, 2 to 8 magnesiums, 1 to 2 CalMags, or maybe it's 2 to 4 CalMags, 1 to 2 multi-minerals, multivitamins. Multi-minerals, multivitamins, that's the same thing. And then afterwards you take 1 to 4 grams of buffered vitamin C and 300 to 600 milligrams of lipoic acid. So that's a little bit cheaper than alpha lipoic acid, and a lot cheaper than controlled release alpha lipoic acid. Oh, and then a B vitamin before. That's every session. Is OnDemand still a company? Yeah, they're still a company, definitely. I get emails from them. Um, do I prefer Pulse Tech products? Yes. Uh, this little box that was 1,500 at the time that I bought it. The PFG was, but less, like a 1-year warranty instead of a 3-year. So like this $2,000 device, let's say, was working better than my $25,000 device. At the time that it was bought, I think it was 19,000. They brought 3 of them at a time. I don't know what they make them for. My friend said it's about $200 in electronics, but the electronics in it are so old. I'm talking about the Ondimed here, so they're made by like 2 or 4 companies in the world, so they have to, I don't know, big pain in the butt. They run a ramp part 10 wave. If you got the PFG, you know what that means, but it's only on for like 1% of the time. And they say that that's so the body can recreate the wavelength. So like it fills in this other, I don't know, 99% of that pulse form. But with pulse technologies, they say you want to run a square, and a perfect square, like one to get inside the cell, being within this 20 millisecond time, and the other one is to create this harmonic resonance. So when you're running 400 hertz, you're running 800 hertz, and 1600, and 3200, and I think you get up to like 100,000 from like a 1,000, 2,000 hertz range. And if you do 30,000, you know, just bring it up again, and you're probably into the millions. But when you run a higher duty cycle, like if you run a square 90, the unit gets a little bit warmer, a little bit hotter. So if you're taking old equipment, running a 1% wave, maybe it's running that wave for 1 to 5% of the total cycle, because it would overheat the equipment otherwise. And that's what I think the real reason is. Another thing that I was told in Ondimed advanced training is that there's these things called Lamour frequencies, and you don't understand. Lamour frequencies means that when you're running 400 hertz, you're really running 10 million hertz. But everything that I've read on it, and if you've gotten this far in the video and you're one of the 10 people that's seen it, then correct me if I'm wrong, but your like Lamour frequency is taking like 400 hertz and changing it to 403 hertz or like 397 hertz. It's like a small change in the body, but it's not changing among octaves. So an octave is like a doubling. It's a higher level of it. It's not changing at that higher level. So that's a lie. And that was a great thing to learn that I was lied to later. And Ondimed's hard to run. There's stuff coming down the pipe from Pulse Technologies where you have a Bluetooth sunk EEG device on your head, and you're running the PFG on your wrists or on the feet, wherever. And it runs a sweep function from 0 to 100 hertz, and the EEG is in real time monitoring changes in your physiology and recording where along that 0 to 100 hertz range is. And I think 2/3 or 3/4 of the Ondimed frequencies, some large percentage of the Ondimed frequencies were under 100 hertz. And you could always run those in the higher frequency calculator, and that's going to be something that blows everything out of the water. Because the Ondimed is the only real-time biofeedback device with frequencies. When I'm doing the Zyto, I'm trying to run approximations of those waveforms, but the Zyto is giving me really good results, but it's not real-time at the same time, and that's the future. That's a possible future. I think all the hardware's been built though, so we're pretty set with that. There's just software contracting and that yet to be done. And thanks for watching.